What is up, you guys? Welcome to another incredible episode of the Explain It podcast. We are your host. I'm Stephen Hunt.
And I'm Ingryd Hernandez.
And we have such an incredible guest today that we can't wait to introduce. So without further ado, let's just hop straight on into it.
Yeah. Hi, Jen Villalobos. Hi.
I wanted you to say it because I didn't want to mispronounce.
Villalobos. Yeah.
Villalobos.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Okay, so you all let us know if the sound comes out okay. So me and Jen will be sharing a microphone. We still haven't figured out how to get 3 in here, but we will. Eventually, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Jen, what makes this really special to us is that you were our commercial agent. So we're not just like, hey, next person speaking on a podcast. Like, we've actually had real life experience with you. And I know a little bit about your background because we're friends.
Yes.
So could you tell us a little bit about what your journey was like to get to where you are right now, and the fact that you're actually still fairly new to being a commercial agent? Like, so for all the folks out there who don't know what it takes, well, maybe if you could demonstrate a little bit, like, where did you come from, and then how did you end up as a commercial agent?
The origin story. We all love a good origin story, right?
I'll try to make it short, but detailed. So Jennifer Villalobos, I'm with Cushman & Wakefield. I am an office tenant rep broker here in the Phoenix metropolitan area. And I've really only been doing this for like 16, 17 months. But prior to that, I was the vice president of sales and marketing for a commercial construction company. And then prior to that, I helped launch a commercial moving company, which is really where I got my exposure to the commercial real estate space. I had no idea that this world even existed. This was all very new to me. First generation Mexican American, grew up in a small little farming town called Salinas, California. My parents were farm workers, and that's kind of went to college first to go to the university, get a master's degree, all that fun stuff.
What university?
The University of Arizona, bear down. Went to school.
This is an ASU podcast.
We're not getting a fight right now. Went to school, eventually went to grad school. I was in operations management for a long time, but I think after being, 6-7 years in the workforce under operations management, sales was calling my name, and I didn't really know how or what that looked like. So I took a big leap of faith in myself and really moved to Phoenix, a city that I don't really know anybody here, and made a huge career shift, took a lot of pay cuts and pressed the restart button a lot of times. But I've built a beautiful network here in the Phoenix metropolitan area that has allowed me, to your point, be very successful. I'd like to think so in the short 16, 17 months that I've been doing commercial real estate. And you guys are one of those clients. So thank you for
we're so grateful for that. You guys, Jen is a complete badass in every context of the word, a complete boss, if you will, right? And I was almost going to phrase it as like, you're such a badass, woman in business, but just in business in general. I would hate to even put a label on that. I feel like you're a badass across the board, no matter what.
I can attest.
Thank you guys. I love you guys.
So we're so grateful that we got the chance to work with you. And that's such an interesting story. I actually didn't know that you had all that prior experience too, which I'm sure helped you in terms of leveraging your skills and the things you'd been doing previously to how much success you've had now moving into this newer industry for you.
100%. And I think, I spent a lot of time developing relationships and really sitting on different boards and organizations that have allowed me to be introduced to some really amazing people here in Phoenix, that as I made a transition, I was approached for this commercial real estate opportunity. I work for a really amazing team at Cushman & Wakefield, and they came to me and they were like, hey, we heard that you may be interested in making a transition. We'd love to have a conversation with you about what that looks like. And prior to that, there had already been another team that had reached out to me, and they were like, hey, have you ever thought about commercial real estate? And I'm like, well, yes, but I have a mortgage. So I'm like, there's a lot of risk. And I kind of just started sitting down with a bunch of different people and asking the questions to make sure that I was in a good place to really set me up for success. And, this happened like a year ago. People had come up to me talking to me about commercial real estate. And someone told me, if you're actually considering it, whatever you're saving now, start to double it, because obviously, you know, being a commercial real estate agent or a residential agent, you're 1099, you're just taking the leap of faith, and you know, you don't get paid unless you kill, right? So,
and I'm going to give you a little stat out there for those who are starting as a full-time real estate agent. The average full-time real estate agent makes $40,000 their first year.
Correct.
And that's like a full-time,
Wow.
fully dedicated
60, 70 hours a week.
Yeah, because you're building your sphere of influence, you're
Right.
building your skill sets on being a good negotiator. What I find interesting though is that you and I technically have the same license,
Yeah.
but we have zero like crossover really
100%.
on where our focus is. So for all of you out there who are like, should I get my license? Understand that the license is caca. Like there's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not you're somebody who sticks to something and
Right.
they can verify that, you know, you're not the Undertaker. Like they want to make sure, like, give me your fingerprints. You're a cool person. Okay, you can get your license. But other than that, I have my license. We were looking for an office. Could I have gone and gotten this property for us? Like, I don't even know what the answer actually is.
Right.
Because I have like a zero experience on what that looks like.
Well, that's really, really cool too, because you being residential, and then Drew, who's also in our office, who has this office space with us as well, he's residential real estate, and we needed to bring in an expert for this, right? And I'd also like to talk a little bit about the side of this, where you getting started even in this industry, how you're able to hit the ground running. Because when I think commercial real estate, I think of old white dudes that probably control that space, that's have been in it forever and ever. And then the younger generation that I see there is probably their sons that they brought in, and they're trying to follow in dad's footsteps. And
or
that's
the grandson.
Or the grandson. Yeah, it's been 3 generations that we've been doing this. So I see that, and then I see somebody like yourself come in and just completely annihilate and do such a fantastic job, and you're growing so fast. How were you able to pave your own path as well coming into this?
Yeah, so I feel like we got 2 questions. Question number 1 in regards to you know, us both having the same license but not doing the same thing, right?
Not the same expertise.
100%. And I think when you do get your license, you do have to kind of hone in on what it is that you want to do. Do you want to be a residential realtor, or do you want to be a commercial real estate agent, right? And I think there's a lot of value in choosing and then staying and growing in those lanes, regardless of how hard and how difficult and how you're getting zero opportunities, because it's important to become an expert in what it is that you're doing. I'm a huge believer in like staying in your lane. There's nothing I can't stand more than seeing a residential realtor try to represent a commercial, like a corporate company, and doing that client such a disservice, which when you're going to real estate school, they tell you, like, don't do a disservice to your client. Like, I would never go and try to sell a house. Like, my parents right now are trying to sell a house in Yuma, and they're like, all right, like, and I'm like, no, let me call my friend in Yuma and she's going to help you, because I don't do residential real estate. Like, I don't even know how to work that contract and how that works. So I just think it's really important to stay in your lane. And I understand that times are rough and the economy is not the greatest. So people are like just trying to get every like scraps and pieces wherever they can, but they miss out on really getting concessions for their clients, which is free rent, negotiating TIs, and kind of that would kind of transition to your question. Because I was in the commercial construction space, it really helps me understand how to come through and negotiate that we need TI allowance, or that come in, and if a landlord.
What is TI allowance?
Oh, a tenant improvement. So there we go. Yes, this is for your construction allowance. So
and we say PITI. So I was like, is that taxes and insurance?
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. Thank you for elaborating.
And a lot of people leave that on the table. One, if they don't use a commercial real estate agent, which costs a client nothing, right? You didn't have to pay me to hire me. We get paid by the landlord. Phoenix is a very broker to broker market on the commercial real estate side. So very similar to the residential, typically the landlord pays, you know, the tenant and the seller and the buyer. So that's kind of the same thing on the commercial real estate side. So a lot of times when I do see businesses try to represent themselves, I'm like, one, you're doing yourself a disservice, and it costs you nothing to hire and work with someone like myself, and it's going to help you for free. But that's really, it's helped me with being successful, but I also built a network within the commercial real estate space. And to your point, you do see a lot of father, sons, grandsons. And it is a very heavy white male dominated industry, which, that made it a little bit of a struggle, or maybe some of that imposter syndrome when I was making that leap of faith and trusting in myself, because I'm like, there's really no one that looks like me in this industry. I do have a great group of girlfriends. You are seeing a lot more women in the commercial real estate space that I can rely on and kind of talk to. And we are starting to see a little bit more diversity, but there isn't much diversity out there. So it is hard to kind of pave your path. But because I was already in a space where I had really good relationships, it's made it a little bit easier. And honestly, everything I've worked on to date, 2024, has all been word of mouth or referral business.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. So that's a testament to how great of a job you do. But also you bring such a unique perspective, I'm sure, to all of these situations, because you have all of the prior experience of working in commercial real estate, being a part of the building side of it, everything that you've just done to date. Right? That's so awesome. And I love that you're using those things as strengths to set yourself apart as well.
And I don't want to make someone think that they cannot go into the space if they don't have a commercial construction background. I was just very fortunate. That was kind of how I set the steps for myself. And it all kind of just translated into commercial real estate now as a broker. But I would say, if you're wanting to do this right out of college, get into a big house, get into a Cushman and Wakefield, a CBRE, a JLL, where you're going to be on a team with a mentor. The mentorship component is so important. And a lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to go work for a big house because a big house is going to take, 50 or 40% of my split. And to me, it's like, yeah, but your first 2-3 years, you want to learn and really understand the business. And you don't get that by going to a small boutique firm that you're like, well, we're going to do a 90-10 split. And I was like, yeah, but then you're calling me and you're saying, hey, I'm struggling, or like, what do you recommend? Or I'm like, you got to go to a big house. You got to go find yourself a mentor that's going to help you, guide you, and, teach you the steps to become successful.
That is the exact exchange that I would give for a residential agent as well. Because if you go to a more boutique agency, they're expecting that you already know what you're doing. So like when I started as a residential real estate agent, I went to Keller Williams. I had a great mentors. Shout out to Garrett Lyons out there and his wife Amy. And they literally deserved that split, because I didn't know jack. Like they helped me through everything. Keller Williams required like the very first 4 transactions to go through a mentor, because there's a risk associated to it too. Because so one of the things that's unique about having a license is you are expected to provide fiduciary. And what does fiduciary mean? Fiduciary means that you're serving, you're working in somebody else's better interest, not yourself. And it's the same kind of fiduciary that a lawyer has, that a doctor has. And so when you have that specific requirement based on your expertise, that license, that thing that says you can write a contract and make it valid in the state of Arizona, there's obligations. And so to serve, like literally, it says it in the document. You are serving.
It's your fiduciary duty to stay in your lane and not try to cross over and create a disservice to your client when you're a commercial real estate agent or when you're a residential agent. So 100% agree with that statement. Yeah.
And so, but arguably, and Stephen, you can say this if you believe, but like, it doesn't really matter what profession you're really going to. They all require some degree of mentorship.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
100%.
Yeah. And so if you come into any new space that you don't have the skill set for.
I just want to make sure that you.
Hello. Yeah. That you really should think about that. It should be less about earning and more about learning. So I'm with you 100%.
I like that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Earning,
learning. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yes. Yeah. No, I would agree with that statement. And I remember my mentor I have a great mentor in the industry, Joe Blackburn. Love you, obsessed with you. He's always provided such amazing lessons for me, and that was the biggest things. Like, you want to go to a house where you're going to get mentorship and you're going to get the support. Like, transition to a boutique shop if that's even something that you want to do. Like, 10 years down the road, but once you've received all the education and all the resources to say, like, I can go on my own, I feel confident, I feel, XYZ, and that's the risk that I took, and I was like, makes sense, let's do it. So I would agree with your statement.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. So what has been one of your largest challenges in that transition, though? Because obviously you come with a lot of expertise that a typical commercial agent wouldn't have, which
Right.
already gives you a leg up, but it's still not easy, especially if, okay, I'll give you an example. I came from my W-2 where I was making over 200,000,
Right.
dollars a year, and to coming into a fix and flip space, and like, that's not, like, there's no safety net. Whatever we kill, we take home, right? And so what has that transition been like for you?
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, I came from like I said, a commercial contractor where I had a really nice salary. I had a company car. I had a gas card. I had an expense account. Like, all these, I was literally living off the company. Like, it was fabulous, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner was all on this commercial construction company because I'm out networking and building relationships and trying to win deals for the organization. So to go from that to zero, if I'm taking clients out, that's in my pocket, right? If I am, driving from today, I was in downtown Phoenix, I was up in North Scottsdale, I'm in Tempe right now, and I have to go to Chandler after this, right? Like, there is no gas card.
Yeah.
So the financial component, I think, is the most challenging and the scariest thing. But like someone told me, is like, whatever you're saving today, do double. And that's what I did before I made the shift. Like, make sure that you can live off whatever you have in your savings for like a good 18 months, right? To help you
Totally.
as you're ramping up. And I think if you don't have a network, maybe that needs to be 24 months, right? I was very fortunate. I closed my first deal 6 months in, and now it's been nonstop ever since, right? So I've been very fortunate to, kind of move things along, but that's not the situation for everybody, because not everyone comes from the same kind of background as I did. But I think it's also like, it's a risk that you take. I told myself, I'm in a point in my life where this makes sense for me to take this leap of faith. And if it wasn't today, I don't know that I would be able to do it later in my life, because, I want to have kids. I want to be married. I want to do all these great things. And today I felt like this is the risk. This is the opportunity to take a risk. And if I fail, I'm educated, I have experience, I'm going to be able to make a leap of faith, or like make a transition elsewhere, and it all be okay. So I think as an entrepreneur, we also have to take leaps of faith, especially if like that's our calling. I feel like that's kind of what you guys have done. So
Totally.
yeah.
I came from the same thing you're talking about too. I had the company car, all my meals, all the things, everything was covered. Gym memberships. I could go to any gym in the state of Arizona for free. And now I look back and I'm like, man, yeah, I have to make extra money now for literally every single thing that I was doing, right? Just to maintain the lifestyle that I had.
Right. So it's like going from that lifestyle you had to be like, here we go again.
Yep.
And then trying to ramp back up.
From the top.
Right. But I think they're all life lessons too, though. Like, even today, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so funny how like 12 months ago I was sobbing because I was so stressed out. And, you start worrying about these things, and now things are flowing. I'm getting like connections to a bunch of things. And I'm like, this is the craziest week of my life.
The roller coaster.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a roller coaster.
I hear you.
Right. Yes.
So one of the things, and I'm curious your thoughts on this as well. And obviously you had some prior experience, so I'm sure there was a lot of familiarity for you going into the commercial space.
Yeah.
But anytime I talk to a new agent, anybody that's like taking their courses, everybody has an idea of who they're going to be, is what I've kind of realized, right? Everybody has some sort of interpretation of what they're going to do. You have one agent on one hand that thinks they're going to be the next $1 million listing, person, and they're going to be selling all the top houses in Arizona. And then you have the other person over here that's like, I'm going to be the biggest commercial person that's ever existed. Why did you want to stick with the commercial? And is it harder to sell when it comes to commercial?
Yeah.
Is it better to focus on leasing as well when it comes to commercial? Because I know when it comes to, I own a property management business, right? Most agents don't get into this because they want to do residential leases,
Yeah.
for a property management business. So what does that look like on your end?
That's a fabulous question. So I think there's a few different things. One is I came into this space, commercial real estate, starting with the commercial moving company 6 7 years ago, right? And I just really fell in love with the development, with the changes of the city, and like every little person that kind of plays a part into making a project happen. I'm a huge fan of collaboration and networking, and that really gets me pumped and excited. So that's how I knew that. I was like, first I was like, commercial's my space. Like, these people are talking about really elevated things that like get me just like excited. So I knew that this was the right space. So that's kind of was like when the opportunity of becoming a commercial broker kind of landed on my lap. I was like, okay, let's do this. I do think that in commercial space, to your point about like leasing, I think it's important to kind of specialize in either, are you going to be a landlord rep broker or are you going to be a tenant rep broker? There are people that kind of mingle in both. And I just had a lot more success on the tenant rep side. So I do more leasing than anything. And my team does a lot more of like landlord rep work. I love the people component of tenant rep, of being a tenant rep broker on the listings, on the leasing side. So that's kind of just like been my avenue. Secondly, you can kind of, again, going back into like trying to specialize yourself as much as possible to become that expert. You have industrial, office, multifamily. I specialize retail. I specialize in office. And again, I love beautiful office space. On the construction side of things, I know you guys have they have the most beautiful office ever. Every time I come in here, I'm like taking pictures and doing videos. And I'm like, I'm currently remodeling my house and I'm like, Dad, I need my house to look like this.
Oh, it's so
I
funny.
just love beautiful, sexy office space. And I feel like sometimes people are like, do you think office is sexy? I'm like, yes, it's so sexy. Like, and you're seeing a lot of that happen right now. And I think too, it's like helping people. Like when you guys came to me, you were like, hey, this is our budget. Can you help us find space? And I was like, oh girl, like I can help you find real nice space with that budget. Right. And I remember like Ingryd being like, I hope that we aren't like in some little like shack or whatever. And I was like, girl, no, we're going to get you in some really, really nice space. And I just think it's like, getting people excited about what they didn't realize they can get themselves into just because they don't know.
Oh, totally.
And I feel like because of what we went through COVID, there's just a lot of deals to be had right now. 100%. So if you're considering office space, I can say this with most certainty. Like, I was a corporate worker who got to work from home. And I hated driving into the office because of how far away it was. But I also recognized that I was way more productive in the office. Yes. And so coming here, I'm here regularly. Yeah. Like I live only 7 minutes away because that's how close of a drive it is. And I'm here. I'm way more productive here. I don't have to think about the laundry, the dishes, all that stuff. Because when I'm at home, I may not do it. By the way, I may not do that, but it's still something in my mind that stresses me out. Yes, totally. So yeah.
Well, another interesting thing too, to that same exact point with you focusing on the office space and what Ingryd just said as well, is that we are seeing a decline. Like if we look at statistics, we are seeing a decline in people desiring to have the office space. I'm seeing like the office next door to us, which I'd love to lease out. The office next door to us, that one's been sitting for a few months. It came up like a week or two after we moved into this office, right? And it's just been sitting ever since then. So we're seeing that slowdown. But you took this as an opportunity from what it sounds like. You're like, hey, I even though I'm seeing this part slow down, I'm going to go all in on this side of it compared to industrial or things that maybe are starting to boom a little bit more. Yeah.
100%. So it's so funny. My mentor told me the best time to come into the industry is at its lowest point. Right. So when I was talking to him about office, he's like, so smart. Go into office because you're going to understand office at its lowest point. This industry, as you know, residential commercial is so cyclical. And he's like, if you're coming in at the bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up. He's like, it's going to come back. Is it going to be a slow process? Yes. I'm a new broker. So like, I don't remember the days when we were doing 150,000 square feet office deals at all. Like the office brokers are like, oh, they're reminiscing on like, I'm doing 2,000, 5,000, 3,000, but like a lot of it, right? So I'm doing a lot of that. And to me, it's like, I just want to practice and I want to get consistency and I want to grow with the companies that I'm currently representing. Like today, we put you guys in 3,000 square feet. 3 years from now, I hope to put you guys in 6,000 square feet and then 12. And then to be a part of that story, to grow with your client, like, oh, that's
so
like
good. This makes it clear. You got goosies. You got goosebumps. I know. But that's a clear distinction right there. The way you just described that shows why you're so successful at what you do, though, right? Because you truly care about what you're doing. You see the bigger picture of what you're doing. You want to get reps in. You want to make sure that all of this is happening, because there will be a point in time where that market rebounds in the right way, and you have 150,000 square foot office spaces that you're going to be leasing out. And rolling in the dough. Warren Buffett says it all the time too. He goes, the best time to get into anything is when everybody is leaving.
Right. And that's what happened. That's what happened in this industry. There was a lot of tenured brokers or that were like, well, then I'm just going to retire. Right. So it's your time to kind of swoop in. And not just that, a lot of like the more senior brokers will not touch a 2,000 square foot deal. They don't want to, like, that's too much work for like what I'm going to get paid. And to me, I think when you're starting out, the money obviously is important because that's how I live and pay my mortgage. But what's more important, I think, to me is more so the grind. Like I am truly obsessed and in love with the grind and almost like I bet you can't find me space for $3,000 a month. I bet you I can. And like that's like, I'm more passionate about that and the challenge that comes with what we do. And again, really the people and seeing the growth and like their happiness that goes into like, I can't believe we got this kind of space. I can't believe you're taking me out of a co-working space and this is real. Like I'm in a corporate building and like this is like the start of my business. And I think that's what excites me. And I will take 1,000 square feet all day. I will take, 2,500 square feet, like, because I believe in the people in Phoenix is thriving with entrepreneurs and Phoenix is thriving with small local business owners because again, COVID, so many people started businesses and now they're ready for office space. And if you're not going to want to touch that 1,000 square foot deal, don't worry, I will.
Can we hang out more? I need this energy around me. I'm like, let's lease the place next door. Let's get you in one of those suites with us. Let's do this. That's so good. I know. So one thing I want to point out too that you do that's really, really important for people to understand, because I've been in this situation that you just described and it bit me in the butt so hard, is that you do not go whale hunting. You're not looking for the biggest deal and working on that biggest deal and putting all your eggs in that basket, which is what it sounds like a lot of the other people in the industry are doing. I worked for a company and I remember I was such a whale hunter. It was all for ego too. I was like, I want to get the biggest sales. I remember this one month I had the biggest sale, like by a long shot. And I had 2 sales that month. I had that sale and I had another one that was a decent size. One was $6,000 sale and the other one was a $2,000 sale. And everyone else around me was only doing these $200, $300, $400, $500 sales. But at the end of the month, I made the least amount of commission out of everybody on my team because I spent all my time trying to get these 2 big deals so I could show that I could get the biggest deals. And because I did what did I say? $7,000 and $2,000, $9,000. Everybody else was at $25,000. So I didn't even get close to touching them because I wanted to have the ego of saying I got the big one. I didn't have time to take on these $200, $300, $400, $500 things.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you say this because I have a perfect example of that happening. Yes, I love story. Okay.
Before she keeps going, we are at the half-hour mark, my friends. So if you guys are finding value, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and gosh.
The bell icon, guys. Don't forget about the bell icon. You can get notified anytime we have a new video coming up.
Yeah. All right. Give us the story because we freaking love stories.
Okay. Well, first of all, over the weekend, I just finished the book and I can't remember the name of the book, but it had like 10 laws. And one of the laws talked about ego. And when you let ego take over your business, then you're no longer doing the business for the client and providing that service. So I think it's so interesting that you talked about, you let the ego get in your way and then it kind of came back and bit you in the butt, right? And I'm a huge believer in that. And I always have people like, you're at the weirdest things, or like you're always out networking. And I was like, well, like that's what's like reeling in the business. And if you think it's weird, then that's on you. But like, I think there's value, and I'm not letting ego get to me to find these bigger things. But perfect example is literally when I first started 2 or 3 months into commercial real estate, one of my really good friends, kind of similar story, 3 years ago started a engineering firm and was in like 2,000 square feet of business. And he came to me, he's like, hey, we're ready to grow and we need like a 15,000 square foot office. And I was like, amazing. Like, I'm so proud of you. And I remember sitting down with him when he first told me that he was leaving the engineering company he worked for to go start his own thing, right? So I think that's being a part of that has been super beautiful. However, his 15,000 square foot deal then turned into 20,000 square feet of office space, which was, again, better for me. However, it took us from last August till this September to close this whale.
Wow.
In that amount of time from the start of the year 2024 versus 2023, August 2023, I'd already closed the same amount of square feet in, the 9 months that we had been, if not more than what it took me almost a year and a month later to do that. Right. Which some people would be like, well, yeah, I closed this big monster, maybe ego, but it's like the little guys in the middle pay the bills and they help.
Yes.
So, I mean, a blend of both is great, but sometimes the whale isn't always, Yeah. So, and I mean, there was a lot of satisfaction in both because I know that Preston very well and he's a great friend of mine. But just to kind of go into that point of like, sometimes the whales just take forever and you're putting in so much more time. It's so much more headache. And you're like, maybe I should have just closed 10 or 15, 2,000 square deals. And we're just moving, we're churning these deals. So I do think there's something to that too.
Oh, so 1,000%. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. And I love that you're starting off, like, I think about even just thinking with us, right? We've moved into this office space. And what's the one thing that I think all say at the office every single day? Oh, shoot, we're going to need more space. Yeah. We'd like to have this person come join us, this person come join us, this person come join us. Oh, there's not enough space for all of us here, right? So how do we expand? Let's look at that place next door. So it turns into that so quickly, especially if you're a profitable business. If you're working with good businesses, like you said, you're betting on Arizona entrepreneurs.
100%.
Right? Which is so awesome because if these people, probably have the ability to even get the lease to begin with, they're probably on a trajectory of growth and they're going to outgrow that space instantaneously. I have a good friend, Austin Zabak, and I remember he, over the course of, I think it was like 2021, moved office spaces 3-4 times just in there because people kept moving out and his team kept growing. So he's like, I'm going to get the office next door. I'm going to get the other office next door. I'm going to get the office across from me. And he just started blowing out walls, having them taken care of it, and eventually turned it into a massive, I don't know what it is, probably 50,000 square feet now that he's leasing out. And
it's so funny that you touched about the office market being at a very low and a lot of people working from home. I think there's a lot of people that are tired of working from home.
Yes.
Right? They want this.
Yes.
They want human interaction. And you are seeing a lot of people coming back to the office. I'm a millennial. I obviously sell office, but I've always been a believer of office. I'm a huge believer in learning by osmosis, going in, hearing, asking questions right then and there versus, can I schedule 15 minutes on your clock? Like on your calendar? And it's like, just pick up the phone and call that person, which I think it's lost too when you're like, being a little crab at home, this art of just like picking up the phone or just copying over and be like, hey, like XYZ, right? But you are seeing a lot of people wanting to come back to the office. We are seeing larger companies going that flight to quality. They are taking less square footage, but they're taking nicer square footage because a lot of people want experiences. A lot of people want to come in and feel like they're at a beautiful space like this.
Right. That's why we did it.
The podcast room. That's what a lot of people are wanting. And now you're seeing a lot of big corporations. I believe it was Amazon saying, hey, starting January 1, you guys are coming back. Hate it or love it, you guys are coming back. And if not, well, then like, good luck to you. Adios.
Yep.
So I think we will start seeing a lot of people coming back. I think having and giving your employees flexibility is important. We all have lives. There's mornings that I do start at home because, I have my bug guy coming to spray my house and we got to put the dogs away and whatever. But flexibility is nice, but I am more efficient when I'm in an office. And I try to go into the office every day. I commute an hour to my office. I live in Southeast Gilbert. My office is in Camelback, up the Biltmore area. And every day I will be in that traffic to go and be efficient at my office.
We're going to get her a Tesla so she can get to that carpool lane. But
yes.
So Omar Brown, who has been a residential agent, and now he's ready to move on to commercial out in Dallas. Do you have any recommendation for brokerage or a team out in Dallas? Is Wakeman and Cush out in Dallas?
Yeah, so Cushman and Wakefield is actually,
sorry.
it's okay. Okay.
That's the weed. That's the weed company. Yeah.
I'll only see
I'm joking.
So Cushman and Wakefield is an international company, which is another big reason why I joined Cushman and Wakefield. To your point of like, where do you see yourself? I am Mexican American. Yo hablo español. So I really, in the future hope to do business on a much more international level, which is why I chose an organization like Cushman and Wakefield. And, in hopes that I could represent companies from Spain or Latin America. There's a lot of that coming to the United States. So I hope to in the future have that opportunity. But yeah, we do have Cushman and Wakefield out in Texas, especially Dallas. I don't know if I can share later on, or you guys can put on there my Instagram or my LinkedIn account. I'd really encourage you guys, like someone like Omar, to go into LinkedIn, Cushman and Wakefield Dallas, and really see who's an associate, managing partner, director, and just reach out. A lot of these guys are super friendly, and they will take the time to sit down with you, especially if you want to transition and learn more, or if they're looking to grow. So I would 100% encourage that. And again, you guys are more than happy to share my information at the end of this. And they can reach out to me directly, and I can connect them to the actual person in case that's hires and recruits, and kind of has that interview before they start to connect you to some of the teams that are looking to grow. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Now I'm curious too on the side of office space, because that's what we were talking about too right before this, right? So on the side of office space, are you seeing a trend, and are you seeing people start to, like you said, experiences, right?
Yes.
We try to make our office more of an experience. That way it feels like people are walking into a home.
Yeah.
We do property management. We have Airbnbs. We do a lot of flips and remodels. I want to show that this is what we do. Like, we have beautiful spaces, we create beautiful spaces, all that kind of stuff. Now, when it comes to the office space, are you seeing people also start to lean more into the shared office space as well, like the WeWorks of the world? Or are you seeing those predominantly just, hey, it's just the big companies, it's just Industrious, it's just WeWork, they're the only ones doing it? Or are you seeing smaller mom and pop saying, hey, we're opening up our office to more than just us?
Yeah, so that's a fabulous question. First of all, I just want to share that a lot of times I do know a lot of people that are in co-working spaces, and they're paying a lot more money for a small little tiny room or a desk. And again, this is just because they don't know, and they assume that a building and being in an actual suite, it's very expensive. And maybe it is if you're looking for like the Ferrari of office space, but you can also get a really nice Lexus, for a much better rate, and be paying less than what you're paying at a co-working space, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing to kind of clarify. And so reach out to a broker to kind of figure that out, right? And see, is it more valuable for me to continue to stay here or move out and do a different lease, right? Two, you're seeing a lot of landlords investing into buildings, and they're making it feel a lot more hospitality. So I work out of the Esplanade, and the Esplanade right now is going through like heavy construction, and they're creating these, podcast rooms and yoga rooms. And that way all the tenants within that project can access and kind of go into a really cool space and kind of check out, or whatever the case. They have a golf simulator. So we're seeing a lot of these landlords investing in a lot of the office that is being developed. Like George Oliver is a perfect example. They have beautiful, beautiful office space, and every building that they're purchasing and they're developing and they're converting, they are putting in speakeasies and bars and just like restaurants and really cool coffee shops again. So their tenants can feel like, I want a break. Let me go downstairs, or let me go to the 5th level, and mingle with the other tenants.
Yeah.
And they're still getting that sense of collaboration outside of just their own office space, and getting a nice experience with that too. And people are paying for those prices. People are wanting, and again, because they're giving back square footage, so they're able to kind of compensate. Let me take on less square footage and be able to pay a little bit more to get a better experience for our employees in order in hopes that we can get them back into the office
Yeah.
space.
Oh, beautiful.
Shout out to Janet and Gabby Avila, because they are also leveraging the same sort of experience. They office out of the Bank of America office in downtown Phoenix, and then they're really, really beautiful coffee shop, Thompson, because it's off of Thomas and Central, Thompson Cafe, and that's what they're doing. They worked with that landlord to put a cafe down there so that you could take a break from your office work, go down there and like grab a bite to eat, get some coffee. So if you're out in downtown Phoenix, go patronize Thompson Cafe.
I was there this morning, but
Were you?
not at Thompson, but I was in downtown Phoenix. But I'm gonna have to go check out Thompson.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's awesome. Yeah.
They're also fix and flippers like us. They have really beautiful office space up there, really great vibe. And but yeah, at the end of the day, it's you want to go somewhere where you're gonna spend so much time and energy and feel good about it. Like it's gotta be a vibe.
Right. It's gotta be a vibe.
You gotta have
all
the vibe.
about the vibes. Yes.
Got to. Well, the other thing too, one of the ancillary things that they're adding right now as well, Janet and Gabby are, that I thought was so cool, is they recognize that a lot of the team members that they have, because it's predominantly women that they have on their team, and the majority of the women that they're working with have kids. Yeah. So they're now adding a daycare option.
I have seen that in some office spaces.
Yes. Yeah. So that way they'll have somebody full time there. You can bring your kids, and now they're at daycare at the office, so you can get all of your work done. Which I'm like, what an awesome idea. Right. What a great way to incentivize.
I agree. And you're seeing a lot more of these landlords put like retail at the bottom. They're putting, restaurants, nail salon. They really want it to be this like work, eat, live. Yeah. And you have a lot of mixed use projects as well, like Scottsdale Quarter. That's actually one of our listings, where you have the shopping, you have the office, you have the apartment complexes. And we're trying to give like this vibe, right? Landlords are trying to give a vibe to bring people back.
And technically it's a little bit better for the environment too, because then you're not having to drive across town for stuff. You're all in one space in your own little bubble. For sure. My husband loves that. Like in Chandler, like we don't really leave like this 2-mile radius. Yeah. And it's kind of that same approach, except you can walk everywhere. So yes. That's really
so
cool.
You're seeing a lot more of that within the office industry, and the landlords that do care are investing and are creating that, because they understand that they have to do it for them to get their spaces leased out.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm gonna ask maybe a tougher question. Hello, you ready? You're ready. Okay. So we're fix and flippers. Yeah. I know what our margins technically are, right? So when you fix and flip a house, for the most part, you're shooting for like a 10 to 15% margin. Yeah. So if a house is 400,000, that means you need to get 40,000 to a little bit more than that, right? That's 10%, 40,000, and that's net profit. So when it comes to writing out a lease and doing office, you said you're doing a lot of little transactions, which is great, because then you're at the starting point with businesses as they grow. So those actually will go bigger. But like, what is the average like split? Like, what is the average, or commission, I should say, for something like this?
Okay, so commission for the broker.
Okay, like whatever you feel comfortable. Like, hey, or like how I'm not saying like, hey, Jen, what? No.
So it's gonna vary depending on the type of building that you're going to. So most Class A office buildings pay the landlord, pay the tenant rep broker 5%, 5% of the term of the lease.
Okay, so if the term of the lease is a 12 total gross lease.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yes. So like, for example, our leases, and I just want to do the math so people understand.
Right. You can math for me. I'm terrible at math.
Okay, fantastic. Money math. It's my favorite. I love money math. Okay. So let's say our lease is $1,500 a month for 24 months. I think that's kind of where we're at right now. Right. So what's the gross on that, Steven?
Let me pull out my calculator. I'm like,
my calculator's over here, but we're live on Instagram too. You guys should be on YouTube instead. So come on down.
$36,000.
Okay, so $36,000 for 2 years, and so 5% of 36,000 is what, Steven?
I thought that was 5%.
No, that's the total gross lease amount times 0.05 would be $1,800.
Okay. Yeah. So this is what the broker would get paid for representing.
Or
okay.
5 year, or whatever the case may be.
Interesting.
Yes. So, but there are some office spaces that are not Class A, where they do it like a residential. So you're getting 3%, and then the landlord broker is getting 3%.
Yeah.
So in a Class A building, typically the landlord broker gets 2 to 2.5%, and then the tenant rep broker gets 5%. So it really depends. Then if you're doing industrial, the industrial market is hot, and I think retail too. I think retail they do a 3 to 3%. So
then it really does become about volume. Like you
right.
need to be leasing
yes,
out,
you got to be
like,
leasing out
all the time.
Yes, you got to be burning and churning. Which again, some people love the big whales.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're burning and churning, it really just depends what's your time. Again, I'm a new broker. I want the experience. I want the practice. I love negotiating deals for my clients. I love being able to get them the best deal. And again, there isn't a lot of brokers out there that will help these people out because they think it's too small of a deal. I literally gained a new client on Friday who called one of our listings. And she's like, hey, I'm looking for and when I called, she left me a voicemail. I called her back and she's like, thank you so much for calling me back. I have called 5 different buildings. No one has called me back. And a lot of times they won't because they're like, well, if you don't have a broker, you're probably not legit. You probably don't have good financials. We're not going to help you out. Right.
I'm going to tell you guys out there, and Steven knows this about me. I answer my phone.
Yes.
Like, if you want to be an outstanding agent, whether you're commercial or residential, the thing that will make you stand out and get more business is answering your damn phone. Like, I literally will even answer those that say spam, and then I'll just say, put me on the do not call list because I'm like, it's worth that 5-second stop just in case it's not spam.
Right. Yes. So, anyways, that's kind of answer the phone. That's kind of like the payout and what that looks like as far as a transaction. I have had people that are residential realtors that are thinking about commercial. They're like, hey, what does the split situation look like when you're doing a deal? That's what it is. It's either 3% or it's 5%. And sometimes there's broker bonuses. Like, hey, on top of that, we're going to pay you $1 a square foot per the lease. So it really just depends. I still think that this is very much the Wild Wild West. And there isn't a lot of structure, which kind of blows my mind. There's been a couple deals that I've had to fight to get paid. And I'm like, why am I fighting? This is my living. Why are we as realtors? And I don't know if that happens often on the residential side. Why am I having to fight you to get paid for a deal that I just transacted in your project? I feel like there needs to be some regulation, or maybe we have to put together a coalition or something.
What's interesting is we residential became more like commercial recently.
Yeah.
So with the NAR settlement, the broker to broker agreements of you're going to get paid out this much regardless of how good, bad, or otherwise you negotiated. That's almost like a guaranteed payout for the buyer's agent, and that used to be pre-negotiated by the listing agent.
Yeah.
And now the whatever judge who actually doesn't ever do any real estate decided that was gosh, what's the C word? Collusion.
Oh.
Sorry.
You were going where I was going, right?
Yeah. Okay. Collusion, people. The word was collusion. And with collusion meant that why would you be paying for the buyer's agent already without that? Because that doesn't necessarily make it the best deal for a seller.
Yeah.
So now a buying agent, so somebody bringing a buyer, has to negotiate what they get paid at that transaction. And it's every single time.
Yeah.
And so we as flippers, we know we should set something aside for a buyer's agent because that's really how properties get sold. But you have some sellers out there. I'm like, no, the buyer can pay for the buyer's agent. And so that makes the pool of buyers a bit more unstable because not every buyer is going to be able to afford to pay for a buyer's agent. And
especially with the cost of residential real estate right now.
Yeah. So for sure. And so this is what's caused a wave a little bit this past year, which is not a wave we needed at this point because demand is already not where we want it to be. So we didn't need to add more, drama to it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the way it's shaking is that everyone's still getting paid what they were getting paid in the first place.
Yeah.
And so it's
just with more
undue stress. Yeah, and people have this overblown scenario in their head that this became like so much harder. I'm like, no, we're landing exactly where we were in the first place.
Right.
Just more bureaucracy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my unprofessional opinion. So, anywho, yeah.
Oh, that's so
love it.
great. I do want to focus too on the point where we talked about some of the co-working spaces. I
Yeah.
did look at I keep almost saying co-living because I'm so used to that kind of talk, but the co-working, the shared working spaces. So I went to WeWork because I thought it was going to be cool. It was like a high,
Yeah.
high rise. You get to the
Yeah.
top, and then they market like, oh, just $99 a month.
Right.
It's starting off. I will say that for a room the size that we're sitting in right now, just for this podcast room. Now, keep in mind, our office that Ingryd and I have here has this room, which is my personal office, and that we use as the podcast room. We have a bullpen area that's probably 700 square feet, and then 2 more additional offices, and then we also have a kitchen. I will say that a room about the size of what we're in right now, just my personal office, is about $2,200 a month going through one of the co-working spaces. Right now, we pay $1,500 a month, have 3 private offices, our own kitchen, plus a huge bullpen area where we have 2 couches, a TV, a perfect place to hang out, and have team meetings, all that kind of stuff, all for significantly less, truly, than what we would have been able to get at some of those co-working spaces. So I would highly recommend to everybody, like, there's deals right now. Go
so many
look.
great deals. Yes. On top of negotiating a few months of free rent, I believe we got you. We negotiated the rental rate a little lower than the asking rate was. And then we got a couple things on the tenant improvement side. I think there was like a wall or a window that we didn't like, and we got the landlord to pay for all of that.
Yeah.
So no, I agree. I'm currently representing a psychiatrist and kind of the same thing in somewhat of a co-working space, and she can't believe what it's going to cost her less to go into an office. And yes, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm paying like 6 months by 6 months, or, I don't want to sign a 3-year contract. But there's landlords out there that will negotiate a 1-year term, that will negotiate a 2-year term, especially if you're worried about like growing. And those are all things that we can put in a lease. Like, hey, if we were to outgrow this space and so, we want, the right to terminate or the right to expand or whatever the case may be. And it's just, those are all things that can be negotiated in a lease. But yeah, there's landlords out there that are willing to work with you guys. I mean, I think we signed a 2-year term here.
We did a 2-year term here.
We did a 2-year term.
We bet on ourselves.
And you actually drove that entire situation, because I'll be frank, like, I didn't know shit when it came to like anything commercial. You're like, this is what we should do. This is how we'll get the most out of this. Like, you guided the whole thing and you made it so turnkey for us.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh my gosh, like, this was fantastic.
And we don't pay utilities.
Yeah,
we don't pay utilities.
Yeah.
The utilities included.
It's Wi-Fi and space, and that was it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, combined what we were paying before in the space that we were at, which had very little to no amenities and very, very small space.
Right.
Like, I was like, holy smokes, like, our combined rent together was what we could afford here.
Yeah.
And it was really almost like a flatline move, other than paying Wi-Fi now.
Right.
Really. So it's like, that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And we got 2 of the however many free rent. So
Like,
wow.
I think we got 2 months.
Yeah. So technically it was we made money by moving. So we used it to decorate, though. We did put the money in to decorate.
The money back into the business.
Correct.
Yeah, right. Well, and it's our space. We're not sharing office space with a ton of different people. Like, we would walk up and down the hall and everybody's doing something different there. We're all here working on the same goals, the same visions, the same everything. And we get to choose what the vibe is versus what the other place was choosing what the vibe got to be. We get to make this the place that we want to feel inspired with, compared to what somebody else is controlling, truly.
Yeah. And I will say, I do know that some people are like, oh, I love that sense of collaboration that you're getting in these spaces. And I mean, you guys can correct me and let me know, like, does a lot of that collaboration actually happen when you're at these WeWork spaces or at these co-working spaces? I would think that everyone's like locked in and really focusing on growing their business. Yeah. So, and you will see a lot of property management for commercial real estate spaces will put together like ice cream socials, or we're going to get a food truck, or we're going to get, so it just depends what type of building that you're in, but you still see the property management try to create that sense of like community for some of the people within the building. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And we got covered parking here.
And covered parking.
Hey.
That's so
All the
good.
perks. So
Oh.
just, reach out, think about it. Don't be in a co-working space, okay? Call me instead.
And the bathrooms are clean and they smell like
Yes.
lemons,
Yeah.
and everything has a code that you have to get into, so it feels safe. It's honestly fantastic.
Yeah.
What a game changer.
Yes. Lots of options out there, my friends.
Okay. Well, I know we're getting close to wrapping up here. When you think about what your journey has looked like so far in this past, 24 months of being a commercial agent?
A little bit less than that. It'll
Yeah?
be 24 months in June.
Uh-huh.
So we're like at month 17, I think.
So as
Dang.
entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
we're always looking at what's that 5-year window look like? What's that 10-year window look like? What does that look like for Jen coming into this space?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's such a great question. I really hope that, again, I know we kind of talked about this earlier. There isn't a lot of people that look like me in this industry. And I really have made it a little bit of a mission to go speak to like the Arizona State University Hispanic Business Club. And I know even though I'm a Wildcat, I still give back to the kids regardless of what university they go to. And I really just educate people on this fabulous career. Like, I think for me, I was very frustrated that, I didn't know that this world existed until 6-7 years of my 6-7 years ago. So I just want to make sure that, people, women, people of color understand that there's great opportunities as an entrepreneur in commercial real estate, that you can really build this generational wealth that a lot of people just don't know about, because to your point, it's been dominated by the father or the grandpa and the father and the son and the grandson. And we need to pave the way. And I hope to kind of be like that glass ceiling person that broke through and is paving the way, and be remembered as this person in my community that was, a part of that change in this industry, and making that happen. So I hope to be a great mentor for a lot of individuals, minorities, and to want to come into and transition into this industry, and just continue on, growing with the businesses that I get to support, and be a part of that long term, and just be able to give more back to my community. That's a huge passion of mine, to get involved and serve the underserved. So if there's a way that I can, build a network and, just build a really great business and still be able to give back to my community, that's like, I've fulfilled all the things in my life. So
Yes,
So
you care.
You heard it here.
You care so much.
She's
And I
not
love
just a
that.
commercial agent. She's a change agent.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are the kinds of friends I hang out with. Know your circle. But didn't you also start like a nonprofit
So I was a part. Yeah. I was a part of an organization that helped raised a bunch of money. There's a project called the Mobile Building Space, which is a gift to the Girl Scouts. We raised about $300,000, and we literally put commercial real estate on wheels to create more awareness and more exposure about the industry, commercial real estate, construction, architecture, and even things as like how to change a tire, just giving young girls that confidence. And we partnered with the Girl Scouts because we knew that they already have that platform. And why, instead of working twice as hard, why not just come together and collaborate? And that's what we did.
Very good.
Yes. And now the Girl Scouts has this awesome mobile building space that they use live this summer, up in like Navajo Nations, Flagstaff, and the girls got to, build little wagons for cookie season and just get more exposure to this industry, which I think it's really important. And you kind of have to take the time to give back to and really make that change, because no one else is doing it. So
right on.
It's so good.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
puts purpose behind everything you're doing. It's so good.
There's got to be purpose behind anything that you do, whether it be commercial real estate, residential property management. I think when there's purpose, there's a lot more success, because then people buy in to you and your mission and want to help you out.
And satisfaction. Yeah.
100%.
You want to feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. Yeah,
Agreed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Jen, if somebody needs a kick-ass, commercial agent. Sorry, I thought I was talking about myself. For a moment.
Yeah,
Sorry, my bad.
You call Ingryd for residential.
Classic.
But where do they get a hold of you, and how can you help them?
Yes. So on Instagram, I am JV as in Victor 93906. And you can also email me. My email is Jennifer JENNIFER .Villalobos VILLALOB as in boy OS. I know it's a mouthful at Cushwake CUSHWAKE.com. I know the business card is like really long. At cushwake.com, and I'd be more than happy to even just like pull a survey for you guys, let you understand the market. A lot of times, I'm sure like in residential,
That's how it happened with us.
that's how it happens, right?
Mhm.
We're pulling surveys, we're letting you understand the market. Even if you're looking to buy, I'm currently like helping a couple clients buy some real estate buildings, but it started with, I just want to understand what the market is. What is the average price per square foot to buy a, little office condo? And then you build that confidence and they're like, okay, well, I'm ready to buy, right? Versus leasing. And we're doing a comparison of both. So we can do studies like that. I can come out to your space and understand if you're looking to negotiate and renew. Can we get you a better deal? Can we get you some TI money, construction money to vamp up your space? So yeah, and on LinkedIn, Jennifer Villalobos, find me on LinkedIn, put Cushman and Wakefield next to my name and I pop out. So I love connecting with people and seeing how I can help you guys out and collaborate.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been your commercial agent edition with Jennifer Villalobos.
Woo!
We really appreciate for like all of you who came, and just a kind reminder that we are here every Wednesday from 1 to 2 Arizona time, and would love to answer all your questions related to commercial, office, creative finance, cash. Reminder that both Stephen and I are fix and flippers. And so we love to buy properties either through creative or cash means. So don't forget to hit us in our DMs on Instagram, and we'd love to check out your deals. So with that, you want to sign us off?
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us on our most recent episode of the Explain It podcast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you share this one with a friend. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you know when the next video is coming out. And we want to bring you the content that you're looking for. So let us know in our DMs too. Like, what do you want to see on the Explain It podcast? We want to bring on the guests that you want to see as well. So without further ado, thank you for joining us, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Such an honor.
We are out.
Bye.